Imagine suddenly waking up to find a wall where there used to be a bridge. A sudden distance in a relationship that once felt so close and familiar. That sharp, unexpected gap can shake us to our core. Whether it's a partner, friend, or family member pulling away, the emotional journey that follows is complex, often overwhelming, and deeply human. Psychology helps us understand this journey not as a single feeling, but as a series of stages, each with its own challenges and lessons. Today we'll explore the 6 emotional stages people commonly experience after sudden distance in relationships. From the initial shock to eventual acceptance, these stages reveal how our minds protect us, how our feelings unfold, and how we find a way to move forward. Understanding these stages can bring compassion to ourselves and others, reminding us that feeling lost is part of being human and that emotional resilience is built step by step. When someone experiences sudden distance in a relationship, the very first emotional response is often shock and disbelief. This reaction arises because our minds struggle to process an abrupt change in a connection that once felt secure and predictable. Psychologically, shock functions as a protective mechanism. It momentarily numbs the emotional pain and prevents us from being overwhelmed by the sudden disruption. In this state, the brain's limbic system, responsible for processing emotions, is flooded with signals that something important has shifted, but the rational mind hasn't yet caught up. This dissonance between what is expected and what is happening creates a sense of unreality. It's common for people to feel stunned, as if they are witnessing a scene unfolding in slow motion or even outside of themselves. This reaction is closely tied to the brain's fight-or-flight response, which is triggered when a perceived threat to emotional safety occurs. Sudden distance threatens the sense of attachment and security, which are fundamental human needs. This threat can cause intense confusion, because relationships are often the foundation of our emotional stability. During this stage, people might find themselves replaying recent interactions, searching for clues or signs that could explain the sudden change. They may feel frozen or disconnected from their usual thoughts and routines. This momentary disbelief serves as a buffer, giving the mind time to adjust to the shock before more intense emotions arise. Psychologically, this phase is crucial because it buys space for the individual to prepare for the emotional upheaval that is likely to follow. It is an involuntary pause where the person starts to accept that something important has changed, even if they cannot yet fully comprehend it. This stage can vary in length from person to person, depending on the depth of the relationship and individual coping styles. Recognizing this initial shock as a natural and necessary part of processing sudden distance helps normalize the experience and lays the groundwork for the healing journey ahead. After the initial shock wears off, many people enter a stage of denial and confusion when faced with sudden distance in a relationship. This phase reflects the mind's attempt to protect itself from the full impact of loss by refusing to accept the new reality. Denial acts as a psychological defense mechanism, shielding individuals from immediate pain by creating a mental barrier between their current experience and the harsh truth. During this time, people often cling to hope that the situation is temporary, or that things will return to how they were before. Confusion accompanies denial because the brain is trying to make sense of a situation that contradicts previous expectations and emotional patterns. Humans have a natural tendency to seek coherence in their experiences. When something unexpected disrupts this, cognitive dissonance arises. This internal conflict leads to questions like, "Why did this happen?" or "What did I do wrong?" which fuel uncertainty and mental unrest. The lack of clear answers makes it difficult to process emotions effectively, leaving individuals stuck in a cycle of overthinking and second-guessing. From a psychological standpoint, this stage involves intense rumination, where the mind obsessively replays conversations and events, searching for explanations. This can create a feedback loop that heightens stress and anxiety, as the person feels trapped between wanting to understand and fearing the truth. The emotional turmoil during denial and confusion is often accompanied by difficulty concentrating, disrupted sleep, and a general sense of emotional numbness or detachment. Despite its discomfort, this stage is an important part of the emotional processing journey. It reflects the brain's effort to gradually acclimate to change and avoid emotional overwhelm. While denial may seem like resistance, it actually serves as a coping strategy that allows time for the individual to mentally prepare for the deeper feelings of loss and sadness that will eventually emerge. Understanding this stage helps normalize the experience and encourages patience and self-compassion during a difficult time. Following the stages of shock and denial, people often enter a phase marked by emotional pain and profound sadness when confronted with sudden distance in a relationship. This stage represents the heart of the grieving process, as individuals begin to fully feel the loss and disruption that the distancing has caused. Psychologically, this pain arises because the attachment bonds that once provided comfort, security, and emotional support are now weakened or broken. Human beings are wired for connection, and when those bonds are threatened or severed, it triggers intense feelings of sorrow. During this phase, the brain's emotional centers become highly active, especially areas involved in processing grief and loss. The release of stress hormones like cortisol may increase, contributing to feelings of heaviness, fatigue, and even physical discomfort. It's common for people to experience a deep sense of emptiness, loneliness, or despair. This emotional pain is often accompanied by tears, withdrawal from social activities, and a decreased interest in things that once brought joy. This stage also involves a process of mourning, not only the loss of the relationship as it was, but also the future that was imagined within it. People may grieve the shared experiences, plans, and the sense of identity tied to that connection. Psychologically, this requires individuals to confront the gap between expectation and reality, which can feel overwhelming. At this point, many people experience a heightened sense of vulnerability and may struggle with feelings of rejection or unworthiness. These feelings can challenge self-esteem and lead to negative self-talk. However, experiencing this emotional pain is an essential part of healing. It signals that the individual is emotionally engaged and beginning to process the depth of the relationship's significance. Understanding this stage helps to recognize that sadness is not a sign of weakness, but a natural and necessary part of adapting to change and loss. After moving through sadness, many people encounter feelings of anger and frustration when faced with sudden distance in a relationship. This stage often emerges as a response to the helplessness and vulnerability experienced earlier. Psychologically, anger serves as a defense mechanism. It's the mind's way of regaining a sense of control when it feels powerless in the face of loss. This emotion can be directed outward toward the other person, oneself, or even the circumstances that led to the distance. Anger arises because the brain is attempting to make sense of the situation by assigning blame. This process is natural as humans seek explanations to restore a sense of order. When a relationship changes abruptly, it disrupts expectations, and anger can help manage the frustration that comes with uncertainty. It is also a way to express pain without being overwhelmed by sadness. In some cases, anger may mask deeper feelings of fear or hurt that are harder to face direct. During this phase, people might experience mood swings, irritability, or even confrontational behavior. The fight or flight response can be activated, releasing adrenaline that heightens emotional intensity. This surge can make it difficult to think clearly or communicate calmly. Psychologically, this is important because it signals that the emotional processing is active and the person is no longer numb or in denial. It is also common for individuals to reflect on perceived injustices or broken promises, fueling resentment. This can create internal conflicts, especially if the person values the relationship and simultaneously struggles with feelings of betrayal or disappointment. Managing anger constructively is crucial to avoid damaging communication or decisions that might deepen the emotional rift. Recognizing anger as a natural, though challenging stage in the emotional response to distance can help individuals approach their feelings with compassion. It serves as a bridge toward deeper understanding and eventual healing, even if it feels uncomfortable or overwhelming in the moment. After experiencing the intense emotions of anger and frustration, many people enter a stage of reflection and self-awareness when coping with sudden distance in relationships. This phase marks a shift from reacting outwardly to looking inward, as individuals begin to examine their own thoughts, behaviors, and feelings more objectively. Psychologically, this process is essential for emotional growth and understanding, because it allows people to gain insight into the dynamics that contributed to the distance. During this period, the brain engages in metacognition, the ability to think about one's own thinking. This heightened self-awareness can bring clarity about personal patterns, such as communication styles, emotional responses, or unmet needs that may have influenced the relationship. Reflecting on one's role is not about blaming oneself, but rather about developing a balanced perspective that acknowledges both individual and shared responsibility. This balanced view helps reduce feelings of helplessness and victimization, replacing them with a sense of agency. The reflection stage often involves reassessing values, boundaries, and expectations within the relationship. People may ask themselves important questions. What did I truly want? What was I willing to give? How did I contribute to the emotional distance? These inquiries encourage emotional intelligence, the capacity to understand and manage emotions effectively, which is crucial for future relationships and personal well-being. However, this stage can also bring discomfort, as confronting difficult truths may challenge one's self-perceive or lead to feelings of regret. Psychologically, it requires courage to face these internal conflicts and vulnerability to accept imperfections without harsh judgment. The process of reflection helps individuals move from reactive pain to thoughtful understanding. Ultimately, this phase lays the groundwork for healing by fostering deeper emotional insight and self-compassion. It encourages personal growth and prepares individuals to make healthier choices, whether in repairing the relationship or moving forward independently. After moving through reflection and self-awareness, many individuals reach a stage of acceptance and adjustment when dealing with sudden distance in relationships. This phase is crucial because it signifies a turning point where a person begins to come to terms with the new reality, allowing for emotional healing and the rebuilding of personal stability. Psychologically, acceptance doesn't mean forgetting or dismissing the pain, but rather acknowledging the situation as it is, without resistance or denial. This process involves the brain shifting from a state of emotional turmoil to one of calm and rational understanding. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for higher-order thinking and decision-making, starts to exert more control over the emotional responses generated by the limbic system. This neural shift supports a more balanced perspective, helping individuals see the relationship and its distance in a broader context. Adjustment during this stage includes adapting daily routines, emotional expectations, and social interactions to reflect the changed circumstances. It may involve redefining personal goals, rebuilding self-identity, and learning to function independently without relying heavily on the other person. This stage can also foster resilience, as individuals develop coping strategies that strengthen their ability to manage future emotional challenges. Psychologically, acceptance also opens the door for forgiveness, whether toward oneself, the other person, or the situation. Forgiveness is not about condoning hurtful behavior, but about releasing the emotional burden that can impede growth. This release lightens the psychological load and helps prevent lingering bitterness or resentment. As people adjust, they often experience a gradual restoration of hope and openness toward future relationships or new beginnings. The acceptance phase emphasizes that healing is a process, not a sudden event, and encourages patience and self-compassion as individuals navigate their evolving emotional landscape. This stage is essential for reclaiming a sense of peace and moving forward with renewed emotional strength.